Welcome to the Hair, Babes and Business podcast. My name is Jessica Marie and I am an online educator and hair, beauty and business coach. I worked behind the chair for 14 years and successfully fully booked out 2 of my own hair salons before taking on this role. I have learned the many intricacies of hairdressing and running a spa or salon business. Through Hair, Babes and Business, I, alongside other industry experts, am sharing valuable knowledge to help you grow your business and fast track your success. I am so grateful that you have found our community and have decided to become a part of it. I can't wait to work with you and to move progressively towards a new era in the hair and beauty world. Thank you for being here today. Now let's begin. Hello guys and welcome back to the Hair Babes and Business podcast. My name is Jess and I am your host, and today I'm bringing you a very special guest episode with beautiful guest Anne-Marie, owner of Serene Flow. Guys, I'm going to link all of her information in the show notes because you need to go and check her out and see what she's doing for the industry, because she is absolutely amazing. She's so innovative. She's got so many great ideas, and I really want you guys to check out what she's doing and check out what she can offer you, because she's got a lot of great advice and a lot of pearls of wisdom that you can really learn from her. So I'm really excited to dive into today's episode. Today we're really talking about a lot of different things, but focusing on social media and how to kind of overcome that fear of being the best person you can be and really showing up as yourself online and for your business, and also ways to overcome the real overwhelm that comes with social media, because we all know it is like another full-time job on top of what we're already doing. Like, it's not enough to just be a good hairdresser anymore. You have to be a good hairdresser who has great social media. But I feel like Anne-Marie has a really beautiful way of just explaining this so easily and so beautifully, and just taking some of that pressure and some of that anxiety out of it, and just really making it seem like a lot less complicated. Like, I think we really are overcomplicating this, and I think she just makes it seem so much more achievable and so much easier to be able to achieve these really big, beautiful goals. So guys, without further ado, we're going to dive into today's episode. I know you're going to love Anne-Marie, and like I said, I will link all of her socials so that you can go and find her and follow her after this episode as well. Let's get into it. Well, welcome back to the Hair Babes and Business podcast. Today I'm joined with Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, do you want to tell me about who you are and what you do?
Thank you for having me. I'm super happy to be here. So my name is Anne-Marie Christel. I'm trying to quit my hairdressing job. I've been a hairdresser for over 26 years, and I've been specialized in non-toxic hair extensions. So when I do hair extensions, I do an all-natural method with no chemicals, no glue, no nothing, just so that the client's hair can thrive and breathe and really grow out when they're wearing hair extensions. And for the past 6 years, I've been working as a coach for hairstylists, teaching marketing, business strategies, and really help hairstylists find their unique voice and attract the right type of people to their chair.
That is absolutely amazing. So with your business that you're doing now, what kind of things are you providing for people who are looking for help in those areas?
So I provide a lot of different things. I truly help hairstylists find their voice and really speak about themselves, and also to get their followers and everyone that actually hears about them through the digital world or their clients, to speak about them and connect with them in a true, authentic way. Because I believe that we as hairstylists, we really want to attract the right type of clients into our chair. And I think that finding that uniqueness with who you are, and really also understanding how can I speak about the services that I offer, so that the non-hairstylists actually understand what it is that we do. Because a lot of hairstylists, when they are using social media or when they are talking about their work, we are speaking in a language that non-hairstylists actually, they don't understand what the number of the color is. They don't understand all the tech things. They have an image. This is beautiful. I want to look like this, but they don't really understand all the tech. So I think that sometimes we can talk over the heads of our clients or potential clients so that they feel overwhelmed. And maybe that makes them take a step back and do not dare to reach out because they don't understand you or the words that you are using. So I really try to get hairstylists to understand how can I speak to my potential clients so that they feel seen and heard. Because at the end of the day, we want to help them with their problems with their hair and their struggles and also transform them from the inside and out. Because I think that that's one of the things that we maybe take for granted as hairstylists, that we really get to help them in such a beautiful way.
Wow, I absolutely love that. I think that's so beautiful what you've just said there. And I think it is really tricky because in these times, I mean, social media is kind of new in a way. And I think that a
Yeah.
lot of hairstylists really struggle with like exactly what you're saying, like how to communicate. I
Mm.
think we all kind of have this idea in our head that like you just need to go viral and get lots and lots of followers. And we're just trying to find the latest trend or find the latest thing
Yeah.
to do that, and we kind of miss the mark a little bit on actually figuring out like how we need to relate to these people and attract the right people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and the biggest mistake I see people do on social media right now when it comes to hairstylists attracting clients is there is no clear way for people to understand where in the world you are. That is like what your specialty is and where you are in the world should be the two things that you should communicate at all times. And it should be super, super clear that it's the first thing, because when someone is looking for a new hairstylist, they probably want to have someone local. I've had the amazing opportunity to actually have people fly all the way from Australia to Sweden just to get their hair done, or from America to Sweden to get their hair done. But I know not all clients are willing to travel half around the world to get their hair done. So the most important thing is that in your bio, it should be super clear what town and like state or area that you are in, because social media is global. You can attract people from all over the world, and not all are willing to drive for several hours to come to you. And then I think it's important that nowadays clients have become smarter. And I think one of the big things that shifted during the pandemic is people in general have become more isolated. People became used to being closed inside of their homes and limiting how many people they were actually meeting in real life and so on. And I think a lot of people got used to that, or they kind of didn't know how to find their way back into the normal world that we lived in before the pandemic. And if you are a hairstylist that want to attract new type of clients, if you're not building a real honest connection by showing who you are, showing your little tweaks and twerks that you have, sharing your authentic self, then there's no real way of getting them to actually connect with you. And then you're just another hairstylist showing off photos of their work. And why should they pick you? Because at the end of the day, anyone can learn how to do different colors or cuts or whatever, hair extensions or whatever you're specialized in. But why should they pick you just because you have a pretty image or a video? And I think going back to the thing that you were said, that many have this misconception, if I just go viral, but what does that actually mean? Isn't it better to have like 1,000 amazing followers that actually are your dream clients that really want to be in your chair and waiting for an appointment with you, rather than having 100,000 people in a different country following you, liking your photos, and then you have no money, you have no clients, no nothing. And I think people get this mix up that we have to have so many people. But if you think about it, if you would stand on the stage and if you have 1,000 people in the audience, that's quite a big audience, right?
Massive. I think that would make
Yeah.
it very scary to
Yeah.
say speech in
Yeah.
front of 1,000 people.
Yeah. So we don't need a stadium. We just need those type of people that we really want. And I think the most important thing is to get an understanding of what is it that they struggle with? What is it that they're saying to themselves in the mirror when they're looking at their hair? What are their biggest irritations around their hair? And actually start to create content, sharing your unique way of styling hair or fixing these problems, and actually talk in video that you actually understand, because that builds connections that really makes them feel that they are seen and heard. When I started out using Instagram back in the day, was it 2010 when Instagram started?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I remember I struggled for the longest time because I was scared of showing up on camera, and I was scared I would sound weird because English is my second language, and I at the time also had a web shop where I sold hair products, and we sold hair products to all over the world. So I knew if I want to get more people into both the salon and the web shop, then I have to speak in English, and it's my second language. Will people actually understand? And I had all of these ideas in my head, and I remember I was crying for half an hour before I recorded my first video ever. And I was a bit, red under my eyes and puffy, but I did do the recording. And at the end of the video, I did a sigh like on goodbye. And that is actually in the video. And nowadays I speak so freely on camera because I've been practicing. And what I say when it comes to creating content is we need to practice. It's not something that we are good at the first time we do it. And we just have to do it over and over and over again. And as I mentioned to you earlier before we started this recording, is one of the best ways of practice is actually starting to do live streams, because you just have to show up, and maybe you can have an outline with I'm doing step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and show up and do this. And you shouldn't care if no one is watching it. It's okay if you mess up. Just laugh at yourself and be okay with it, and let that be there. Because if you are a person that finds the funny things in life, and that's part of your own humor, then that will be connecting with you to real clients. Things doesn't have to be that edited and polished, just because that's just not what life is. And people want to connect with who you are and not the polished version of you.
Yeah, I love that. I think you've touched on such an important point there, because I think, of course, everyone loves that beautiful, pretty aesthetic where everything looks really lovely and like really put together. But at the same time, I think people really connect with authenticity. And I think for a while in the online space, we really lost that. I think it's starting to come back now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And I think that people are talking even more about that. You should show yourself without makeup. You should show yourself when you're doing this or that, or like to really take all the filters away, because no one really looks like those filters anyway, and who really cares? And I a few years ago I met a student in real life that I've been tutoring, and the first thing she said, she's like, wow, Anne-Marie, you really look like you like in real life as you do online. And I thought that was the kindest thing I could hear from someone, because I don't super edit with a bunch of filters and so on. And I just try to show up as who I am. And I put up photos and videos of me in my worst moments when everything is crashing down, because I know that is what builds real connection, not that polished version. There probably will be people that don't like me for being me, but I don't care about those people. I care about those who I really want to help.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. And I think that's the thing you kind of have to ask yourself when you're creating these videos. When you are creating something that's so perfected and so polished, are you really attracting the people that you really, really want to be working with?
Yeah. Yeah. And it should be a reflection also of your salon, the services that you offer in the salon, the vibe that you have, like the way that you are holding the space for your clients. That should be reflected in everything that you do in the digital world as well. And hopefully you also get that kind comment that you're just the person that I saw online. Like there's no gap there. There's no difference. Because what if you hire someone, you rent like a castle and you record everything in there, and your salon is something that's not even close to that? Then you will feel like someone has taken something away from you if they come to your chair and it's like nothing is aligning there. And I think it's more now about the faster you learn to show up, even if maybe the quality is not the best, or you're saying no, that doesn't matter. I mean, make sure that you brush your teeth, you brush your hair, think about that you're a hairstylist. That actually matters what your hair looks like, because that will be something that people will judge you for. But otherwise, I think it's more important to just start, because I think so many people think that you have to achieve something in order to feel ready to press record or start to take those b-roll videos or start to speak on camera. But you will never feel ready until you actually start. And it's by practicing you get the skills. It's the same with taking photos of your work or taking videos and so on. And practice, where should I put the light if there's a dark day or whatever, so everything looks good.
I think you touched on something really important there. And I think as hairstylists, it's kind of like you think back to the first time, say, for example, you did a full head of foils. You might
Yeah.
have practiced that full head of foils 100 times, but the first time you do it on a client is terrifying. And, it does take a long time of doing it on lots and lots of clients before you get to a point where you're like, okay, I can do this. I'm good at this. I feel confident in doing this.
Yeah,
Just
and the same, yeah, and it's just practice. If you are afraid of like messing up when you are taking photos of your clients, if you have a friend or a family member that you can actually practice with and have an alone time in the salon together with this person and just play around, because it's in the playing around where you're actually understanding that, okay, if this person stands here and I have the light here, then it looks better. Or if I do this, or if I do that. And I know I hear this all over again, like all the time, that some hairstylists, they're even afraid of asking their clients if I can take a photo or if I can record a video. And the real question here is, if you want to have new clients or you want to keep the clients that you have and maybe have a few new ones coming in so that your clientele actually is steady so that you can pay for everything and survive and feed your kids and all of that, pay your bills, then we need to show off that work we are doing on a regular basis. And I remember myself having this idea that for me, and I guess a lot of other hairstylists, we think that I'm just doing the same foil or the same hair extension. It's the same type of clients over and over again. It won't make a difference if I show another photo of this. But the key here is, if you show up on social media with the content of the work that you're creating in the salon, that actually shows consistency. And if you show consistent your work of the hair that you're doing, that actually builds trust. So let's say if you only have one photo or one video, because I think everyone should start to do video recordings of their work, not only photos, because that is what all the social media channels want us to do nowadays. But the more we show these works, the more likely people will see that, hey, I can trust this person. Because if you show off consistent work, that builds trust. But if you only have one photo and it's been like 4 months ago that you posted it, because you can see dates on social media when something was posted. And if someone is a bit like, I don't know if he or she is the right fit for me, they will check and say, oh, she hasn't posted anything in 4 months. Oh, then she can probably be so good at the work that she's doing because she doesn't have any clients. That's their thoughts. So it's worth having that consistency because that actually shows off that you are working behind the chair. You are showing up. You are doing this for your client over and over again. And that makes you get more clients.
Yeah, consistency is so important.
Mm.
So I think for a lot of hairdressers, they do get very, very overwhelmed with this social media world. Could
Yeah.
you share some tips and strategies for social media in 2025?
So the first step that I have and that I know is a lot of hairstylists don't make room in their schedule to actually create content. My best recommendation is to make sure, and I know some people don't want to do this because they will feel that they will make less money, but it's actually to have a 15-minute gap between all of your clients so that you can finish the client's hair and you actually have room to create that content. And I'm all about taking both photos and videos of your work at all times, both before and after, because we want to show that transformation. So having that 15-minute gap between each client, that makes sure that you have room to create that content and you don't have that next client breathing down your neck being stressed because you are creating content on their appointment. So if you have room for that, then it becomes easier. And the second thing is also having a photo spot or video spot in the salon. So actually having a designated spot that is like a photo studio where you do all of your content creation. Because if you both make room in your schedule and you're actually it's easy to just put your client here and then you learn I like having this pose and that pose, and don't be afraid to actually touch your clients and move them around until they have the body so that looks good, and tell them you look beautiful, you look amazing. Then they get another energy, and that will show through the photos and videos that you create as well. In that way, we are actually making space for this to happen. But if you're booked back to back, and I know that it's so easy that we do that as hairstylists, that we just want to get done and go home at the end of the evening. But then maybe you don't have any content in your phone or camera to actually show this off. So we have to make room. And what I do is I have my once a week, I schedule and I block off time in my calendar where I actually sit and plan out all the content that I am going to create from every client that I have booked for the week. So I know, okay, this is a really good transformation. Then I can do this kind of video, I can do that. And I create some notes so that when I have that client, I can actually look and, oh yeah, I was supposed to do this and that. And I actually invite my clients into, okay, I'm creating this together with them. And they're super excited and they're looking forward to seeing all of that. And then when I have made all my notes, I actually edit and create all the posts and I schedule them out for a full week. And I do this both on stories and on my feed and in all the different platforms that I'm using, and I schedule it out. So the only thing I do in my everyday busy salon life is creating the content, and then I go in one time in the morning and I respond to any messages. I send welcome messages to all my new followers, and I make sure I've responded to all the comments, and I do that once in the evening as well. And then I don't have to think about it anymore. Then I know, okay, that's the work for today. Then I'm done. And if someone is stressed and overwhelmed, my best recommendation is to remove all types of notifications on your phone. Because if we consistently get a sign on our phone, then what happens to me? I don't know. Maybe you work like this as well, but I get, oh, I missed something. Oh no, what happened? Like, and you all of a sudden your full focus goes to your phone and you're not 100% present with the client or when you're with your family and so on. So I've actually turned off every single notifications except we have something in Sweden where we can send money, and I get a notification when someone has sent me money to pay for their deposit or for their appointment. That's the only thing I get notifications on. So I know that when they're in the salon, I've actually received the money. Otherwise, I don't have anything on there. I manually have to go in and check everything. And that has removed a lot of those stressful things happening, because there have been times where I've actually had like 100 comments on something within 1 hour. Think about having 100 bling, 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 bling. What happens to us? And I think also a lot of hairstylists, one big mistake we do is we maybe give our clients our cell phone number. We have our Instagram, we are friends with them on Facebook, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And there are a million ways for our clients to reach us. And my recommendation is set a rule of all your clients that are booking in appointments with you, choose one place where they're allowed to communicate with you and nowhere else. And be really, really strict with that, because otherwise they will end up sending smoke signals to you or they end up knocking on your door. And I think we want to be so, oh yes, of course I want to help you. I want to be there for you, blah, blah, blah. But we have to start to think about, what can I do to take care of myself and fill myself up with energy so that I can actually show up in the salon for my clients. But if you never have that downtime where you do whatever it is that you need to fill yourself up, then you will burn out. You will become drained and overwhelmed. And I understand that the digital world is overwhelming because we are bombarded with so much information that our brains can't cope anymore. And I can only speak for myself, but I have become more dumb or stupid in my head that I can't sometimes think about things. I can't find the words that I used to because of all the information that I am absorbing. And I try to take regular walks out in nature. I try to do things to fill myself up with energy and not be in the digital world so much. But it's kind of hard when you're working online, helping people. But I find those gaps to fill myself up with energy. And I think that you should too as well.
I think that's so important because, like you said, we're kind of all chronically online and
Yeah.
it's really hard to escape it. And I think social media is like the biggest blessing and the biggest curse because
Yeah.
it does create so much positivity in our lives, but at the same
Yeah.
time, you're very stuck in this little tiny device that is the be all and end all. And the dopamine hit that you get from like seeing you've got 100 likes or you've got comments or you've got new followers, it's very hard to like be like, I need to just put that down and go and do something away from all of that.
Yeah. And if you are a person that struggles with that, maybe schedule 1 or 2 hours where you're not allowed to use any digital devices at all. And what I do is when I can, It's not always that I actually can, but I actually leave my phone at home and walk out the door. Not all times that is possible, but being okay with I don't have to be reachable 24/7. And I can actually do things without being on the phone all the time or being in the digital world, and try to have some detox time where you're actually being in the present moment. And a few years ago, me and my husband, we did something kind of extreme, and I don't think it's possible to do that today, but I think it's 10 years ago, we actually went in to Asia, in the middle of Indonesia, a place called the Komodo Islands, to learn how to scuba dive. And we were in this resort for 14 days, and there was no internet there. There was no phone connection. So we were actually, we couldn't communicate with anyone. And the hotel had a satellite phone if there would be a panic. Like, they have to have a helicopter coming in, picking someone sick up, that's sick or something. Think about it. Have you ever been 14 days without the internet? And for me, it was 10 years ago, but I think it took like 3 days before, because otherwise we're automatically, oh, I don't remember the name of that. And we Google and we find things. But when we were here, like we write in our dive books, like what kind of fish we saw, and we had to actually look in real books and not on the computer, and look into the papers and finding the fish and writing it down by hand. And after 3 days, I noticed that my intuition hits became stronger. I noticed that my brain was like free because I wasn't consistently bombarding myself with things. And I was totally fine with no one being able to reach me. It was more other people that, even those people that knew you won't be able to reach me for 14 days, were freaking out because I had stuff on social media scheduled up. So they thought I was on social media, but I wasn't. And I think maybe don't go as extreme as I did, but maybe you can take 3 hours out of your Sunday or Saturday, or like maybe one time per year, just to have that space to breathe and just be present, being with your family, with your friends, and so on. And me and my husband now, we have a rule that we're not allowed to have our phones or digital devices when we're eating. So we have it in the other room, just so that none of us can actually check things, just to be in the present moment with us. And that what we as well we do when we have guests. But the other night we had one of our French neighbors that barely speaks any English, and we don't speak that much French. So then we had Google Translate just so we could communicate, but that was the only thing we used. So we have to have exceptions into the rules as well.
Yeah, I think that's a valid reason to bring the phone out.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think it's so true. I think about this all the time. Like I remember in my childhood, like pre-days of like any social media. And if you wanted to make a phone call, it was on a phone that had a cord that was plugged into a wall. And like, I don't know, life just seemed a lot less stressful. Obviously, it's less stressful when you're a child. But I think overall, like, people were less anxious, less stressed.
Yeah.
It was, and I think about this all the time. Everyone always says like time's going so fast, fast. And I think that has something to do with social media as well.
Yeah, I think it's because we are so bombarded with information. And I think that we are fed with some kind of image of what life is supposed to look like. And we end up comparing ourselves to other people without not even knowing. It's in our subconscious, and maybe we compare ourselves to other hairstylists, or why do they have more work than I have, and why are they more successful than I am? And if you become overwhelmed with that, and if you're triggered by some people, my recommendation is to unfollow them. And if you know that you're being triggered by maybe family members that judge you for what when you're speaking on camera or when you're doing things here and there. And I can say me myself, my own mother, when I am on podcasts and doing videos, speaking on camera and all of that, she compares me to like being a hooker because she thinks it's like I'm too much out there because she believes that you have to hide yourself. She's that kind of person. And I remember when back in the day, she could like text me going like you're now you have those ugly eyebrows again, or doing all like things that can be really really hurtful. So my recommendation, if you have someone that could be mean and triggering towards you, maybe block them. Maybe don't allow them to see what it is that you're doing, so that you don't have to have those texts or that kind of judgment towards you. Because at the end of the day, you have to think about who it is that you're creating content for. And I know my ideal client is not my mother, because she would never, ever pay me the amount of money that my clients do for the work that I do. She thinks that's crazy, but that's on her. I don't really care. So, but I think it's important that we remind ourselves that we're not the right fit for everyone. And your dream clients are out there. It's just about you finding how they can reach you and remove everything that is triggering and stressed. And if you are very, very overwhelmed with this whole world, my best recommendation for you is if you can take 10 minutes or 15 minutes and just sit and write down every single thing that is overwhelming. And if you are stressed and actually look at the list that you have written down, there are probably a lot of things you can remove. And there are a lot of things we say yes to that we shouldn't say yes to. And the first thing that we need to do is to create some kind of change so that you can feel better. Because what happens when we are stressed, we will not do our work as good, and it will affect you some way. And worst case scenario, you may burn out, and then you won't be able to help anyone.
That is such great advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think a lot of people will hear that and resonate with it. And I think it's good food for thought, what you've just said. So thank you for sharing that advice. I did want to ask you, just touching back on what you were saying before about like obviously blocking anyone who's not going to support you and get around you. On the flip side of that, do you have any tips for attracting your dream clientele and attracting the dream people that you want in your space?
So going back to really understand, first of all, who it is that you want to attract, and start to think about what is their problems with their hair, and how can you start to show that you understand what their problems is, and show also that you have created the type of hair that they are dreaming of. And anytime that you are posting any type of hair, remember to have a before and after. But when you're creating content, you always want to show the after first. So that is the first thing people see to be drawn in. Because if you only have the photos or video snippets of people from the before, that's probably not going to show off your grid in a beautiful way. So we always want to show off the after first. And because we want to be able to show the transformation that we create, because your potential clients will look for themselves in the work that you're doing. So they want to find, oh, that's my hair, and she or he did that, and then I can also have that kind of hair. And because they want to find that, okay, this is also positive or possible for me with my hair, because they are not hairstylists. And I think that this is the biggest mistake we do as hairstylists. We create content for other hairstylists, not for our potential clients. Our potential clients doesn't want to know the formula or the latest hair shows that I went to, or blah, 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 blah. If you're showing off the latest shows you've been to, then you should show the inspiration of the hair that you were inspired by, not all the tech things that we hairstylists understand and love. If you're an educator for hairstylists, that's a totally different thing. But showing off your work in the best way, also inviting people in to start to have conversations with you. So being consistent with your captions is important. And if you struggle with captions, I have created a ChatGPT prompt that I give away for free. If anyone wants it, just let me know. That actually creates the caption for you. You just have to fill in some information, and that actually helps you to get people to start to have conversations with you. Because the more people are commenting on your stuff, the more people reaching out to you, the easier it is to actually get them to, they will see your work more, and they will actually start to get to know you, and then you move them into becoming a client. And I'm always about having a consultation first and inviting them to that before you actually, and it's in the consultation, you make them to book an appointment. Because it's like dating. You don't like ask someone to marry you on the first date. You maybe get to know someone first, and I think that's the same thing we should do, and not just put in your bio on Instagram or Facebook or whatever platform you're using nowadays, book your appointment here. That's actually asking someone to marry you on the first date. And that could be asking them like, hey, DM me to see how I can help you with your dream hair. Like, that is inviting someone in just for a conversation. And you probably will have more conversations if you do that rather than asking them to book an appointment. And people have become smarter. People want more from you because they are not so used to being so around so many people. So they demand more of us as hairstylists. They want us to do more for them than just hair. And if you want your work to get out there nowadays, if you're not using video yet, you have to get on it. And doing a video of someone's hair doesn't have to be super flashy, super edited. And I usually explain it as a video can be, think about that you have an image of your hair that you have taken a photo. Think about a video as just a moving image. It doesn't have to be more than that. And it can be the 2 clips of first the after of the hair and then the before. And using a hook over that actually makes people to stop and pay attention. Because I don't know how many seconds nowadays we have to actually get someone to stop the scroll. It can't be even 1 second. So it needs to stand out. And the more authentic you can be, the better. So I think it should be a mix of your hair work mixed with your unique perspective on how you do hair and your unique perspective of who you are. If you build that together, then people will be drawn to you and the right people. And you will probably have situations like me where I had a new client, and she came and she was so excited to see me, and she was talking, and all of a sudden I had to, like, after 20 minutes, I'm like, so what are we doing with your hair? Because she was like so excited to see me, and we had so many connection points, and she really, really wanted to, it was like she has written a long list in her head of what she wanted to chat with me about. And I want you to have those experiences, but you need to show who you are and get people a chance to connect with you in order for you to have those. And that will be like, your digital world will become like a walking billboard that will just attract people into your space.
I absolutely love that. And I will also link all of your information and where to find you in the show notes, because I think it would be great for people to come and see like what you're doing and how you're sharing that information of how to create things and generate that in your own space where you are attracting the right people. So I'll definitely do that. Now, we are coming close to the end of our session today. Is there anything else that you'd really like to share with the listeners before we wrap up?
Dare to show up. I mean, that's the most important thing. Even if you don't feel ready, just take a leap and dare to show off who you are, dare to show off your work, and practice and practice and practice, because it's in the practice that you will actually find your unique voice. Because if you don't try, you will never find it. And if there's stuff that you don't like, you can just delete it and take another one. You're not stuck with the film like we were back in the day. That's the beauty of the digital world. And dare to be yourself. I think that's so important, because there's no one that's like you, and you have your own uniqueness, and share that, and people will start to come if you trust.
That's really beautiful advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much for being here today and giving up some time to talk to the listeners and just share your wisdom and advice, because I think this is definitely something that a lot of people are getting anxious about. So to be able to have it broken down, and I think you just have this really beautiful way of breaking it down so simply that it's like, we are overcomplicating it. Like when you hear it like this, it's like, oh, okay, I actually can do that. I can
Yeah.
make this work.
Yeah, and it's tangible, and I think it's important that we just dare to be ourselves, and not try to overcomplicate it, and practice and practice and practice. And I want to say thank you for having me. It's been beautiful to be able to share all of this.
It's been a lovely chat. I really appreciate you being here today and giving up your time for this. Thank you.
Mm. Well, thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Isn't Anne-Marie just the most beautiful soul? I feel so lucky that I was able to have her as a guest on the podcast and be able to chat with her and pick her brain about all things to do with hairdressing and social media. And I just think that she is just so beautifully spoken, and I think she just has a beautiful way of really like uncomplicating things, which I just really love. That I think all of us are looking for ease and peace and calm in our life, and I think that Anne-Marie just has a really beautiful way of expressing that and making things just feel really achievable. So again, I just really want to thank Anne-Marie for being a guest on the show. In a couple of weeks time, I'm actually going to be bringing out another episode with Anne-Marie, which is actually a live that we did together where we're both kind of chatting about the industry and social media and all of those sorts of things as well. So stay tuned for that episode. Thank you so much for spending another Monday with me. I will be back in your ears on Thursday. This Thursday, I'm bringing out an episode about how to hire staff and how to find the right staff for your salon. That's going to be a really great and juicy episode that I can't wait to bring out for you on Thursday. But in the meantime, I hope you guys have a fabulous week. And remember, if you're not already following me on socials, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok, and I share daily inspiration on those platforms as well. So I can't wait to see you guys there. And just another friendly reminder that I'm always looking for guests to talk to on the show. I've got about 2 months worth of guests booked in for the schedule, but I would love to have more. So if you have a story you want to share, or a business idea you want to share, or something that you're doing in the industry that you want to share, I would absolutely love for you to reach out. The best place to do that is on Instagram, to send me a DM, and I would absolutely love to chat with you. Well, guys, once again, thank you so much for joining me today, and I can't wait to speak to you again on Thursday. Have a great week, guys. Mwah.